Good morning. Well, we were looking yesterday at the idea of the Sabbath, but I wanted to come through this particular rule, which we as Gentiles don't observe, and show very simply how by not keeping this rule, we ourselves can truly become damaged as a society. And as we go back into the book of Exodus and look at the rules that Moses laid down, we begin to have an understanding of what God says to us as a people and what God says to us about our whole human life. See, God has created us. He knows how we work. He knows how our minds work. He knows how our subconscious works. He knows how the id works. Not many people have heard about the id. This is the collective subconscious which governs many aspects of our lives. It creates all different feelings in us, which is sometimes completely out of control. But we are very complex beings. We don't just have physical bodies with human minds. We are, in fact, complex beings who have many, many different strata in our lives. And not just in our personal lives, but in our social lives, with the way we deal with people around us, with the way we deal, first of all, with our mothers, because they're the people we come into contact with first, then with our fathers in the human family, then with our siblings, if there are any, then as a family with families around us. Then we go at a certain age into schools, and we meet there other children of our similar age, and we begin to socialize with them. And gradually a whole social pattern is built up of how we should act and how we should react. And our teachers do a fantastic job showing children what their relationships should truly be like. Even children coming from single child families where they have no siblings are suddenly shown how they should relate to other children and what they should do and what they shouldn't do and how they should treat them and how they should not treat them. Our teachers are doing this job and building up a whole idea of our place within the society in which we are living. They are creating for us a foundation for our lives. Well, that's what Moses was doing as well in Exodus. He was showing the people how to build up a foundation for their lives so that they wouldn't just all selfishly try and take that which they wanted for themselves, but they would begin to see themselves as a community where they were interdependent one upon another, where their relationships with one another were so important that they wouldn't always be turning against one another. And the rules he lays down are so important for each one of us. The simple rule, for instance, that if somebody does something against me and offends me, I'm allowed to come back against the person who has done it, but in no greater way than he has in fact done to me. It's the rule of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You know, if a person hurts me in such a way that he knocks out my tooth, well, I can go back at him, but I can only go back to him so far as to take his tooth. Or if he takes my eye, I can only go back to him and demand of him an eye. In other words, there has to be balance. When somebody is hurt, he can't just go into complete vengeance and destroy the other person because somebody's knocked out his tooth. He can't just go and destroy his family because somehow he's lost his eye. Everything has to be in balance. And I know there are rules which we've somehow come now to almost overcome and extend and create in even greater depth of complexity. But in that beginning time, they were essential because what they were doing was building a society where people were relating to each other in a balanced way. And they were not trying to destroy each other in this way as well. See, all of Western society really is built on the Judaistic idea that Moses was in fact sharing with the people at this time. Or there have been times when people have not obeyed it. There have been times when people have almost rejected it. But somehow in our society, even at the present day, there are these foundations which make us aware of other people and aware of the world around us as well. At this time, we are wondering about things like climate control. But at this time as well, we are wondering about how we treat not just each other, but the world in which we're living. How should we relate to one another? And how should we relate to even the animals around us? Because we realize that we are, in fact, one homogeneous group of both humans and animals living on this planet at this present time. And all this comes from what Moses shared with these early Israelite tribes, an understanding of who we are, and who we are not just as individuals, but as members of families, and not just as families, but members of groups, even of nations, even of continents, and how we relate to one another is therefore so important, because as we relate to one another and help one another and build one another up, somehow it isn't just we who get blessed, but everybody around us gets blessed as well. Amen.